Tonight on Action 2 News at 10.
I have a very bad wrist injury that was bleeding very bad. I got one student I believe is shot.
Investigators reveal a 16-year-old Oshkosh West student stabbed a school resource officer before the officer opened fire on the teen. We'll tell you everything we know about the investigation. Plus,
I knew we had to get out of the room because there's obviously shots fired, and you could just help. You could hear people just sprinting down the halls and stuff. It was bad.
Students describe the horrifying moment when they learned a shooting was taking place in their school.
It's something that happened to you that you'll never want to experience in life.
Plus, parents explain the nightmare they experience when they discover the shocking news.
So that whole recovery process takes on really a life of its own.
and the steps the school district is taking to move forward after such an alarming day.
From WBAY TV, your first alert station, Action 2 News at 10 starts now.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. All Oshkosh area schools will be closed tomorrow due to that officer-involved shooting at Oshkosh West High School today.
The shooting comes just one day after an officer-involved shooting at Waukesha South High School, as we first reported on our First Alert app earlier today. The confrontation between a 16-year-old student and school resource officer began just after 9 this morning in the officer's office.
Then at 9:12, Winnebago County dispatchers received a call from that school resource officer asking for help and an ambulance. 2 minutes later, the first responding officers arrived at school. Officials say the student stabbed the officer, which is when the officer shot the student, striking the teen one time.
Oshkosh West was placed on lockdown once word spread of the shooting. Police report the student and officer were taken to a local hospital for treatment, and Chief Dean Smith does not believe their injuries are life-threatening.
I would like to say to the Oshkosh community that the safety of our students is paramount to all of us. We care deeply for the well-being of each of our students, and our officers will do whatever it takes to ensure the safety of those students and the staff at the schools. We ask that you keep our students and our officers and first responders in your thoughts as we also work to bring normalcy to our communities as well.
Police say no other students were hurt, and investigators believe only one student was involved.
Chief Smith also addressed rumors of threats to other Oshkosh schools and said they are still investigating. When asked about reports of a Snapchat post that may have threatened an incident at the school, Smith said that too is still part of the investigation. Per protocol in officer-involved shootings, the Wisconsin Department of Justice Division of Criminal Investigation is taking over that investigation. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul says more needs to be done by lawmakers.
These are events that have been happening all around the country, including here in Wisconsin, and we need a reaction that corresponds with that problem. And I frankly think our legislature needs to stop pretending like there isn't a problem, and it needs to act.
As for moving forward, new at 10, the Oshkosh Area School District says various sources are in place right now to help students, staff, and families. The district will have mental health support available from counselors, social workers, and psychologists beginning tomorrow. Specific times and locations can all be found at WBAY.com. And this just into our newsroom. Oshkosh police say they continue to investigate information about other possible incidents being planned at other area schools. Police say all of those reports are unsubstantiated and there's no credible information at this time.
Oshkosh West students were taken by buses to Perry Tipler Middle School, where they were reunited with their parents. Jason Zimmerman begins our team coverage tonight and shows us the emotional reactions both parents and students felt once they were reunited.
There's still a small police presence outside Oshkosh West High School, but traffic here on the street is no longer being restricted. We did speak to a number of people as this incident was unfolding, told us they did everything possible to stay safe amid the confusion. Within minutes of the shooting and warnings to take cover, students like Emma Haas began to text family.
I was scared. I texted my mom and my brother because I wasn't sure if I'd ever see them again, but I'm thankful I got out.
Others like John Seelman, who is a pastor at the church across the street, began taking video of the evacuation. It shows someone being brought out of the school on a stretcher and placed inside an ambulance.
I heard from my custodian that her grandson across the street heard 3 shots, what sounded like shots. And right after that, there were students running across the street every which direction.
Some parents like Jason Smith went right to Perry A. Tipler Middle School, where students were being brought to.
my phone lit up that they were evacuating the school and there was an officer involved in the shooting. So I felt pretty confident my kid was safe, but I was just, still scared, about, what happened here and then that this is taking place in my community.
Smith and other parents waited up to an hour to be reunited.
I know he wasn't involved in it, but, I can't help but just want to hug him and just be with him right now.
All families in the district will be offered counseling services as well. The district is reviewing all of its safety procedures. Reporting in Oshkosh, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.
As the Oshkosh community tries to heal from those scary events that took place today, we are learning more about a school resource officer's role in a school and the aftermath of a crisis. Katie Anderson joins us from the newsroom live right now and shows us what SROs are trained to do. Katie.
Cammie, in many cases, school resource officers become more than just a police officer in the hallways. They become a part of the district's family.
There's one primary best practice, and that is if you're an SRO, you need to be as well prepared as you can be to respond.
Mo Kennedy, a retired school resource officer in Alabama, is now the executive director of the National Association of School Resource Officers. He says an SRO's job is much different than being a police officer on the street.
We're training them on things like understanding the adolescent brain, understanding special needs students, understanding school law as it applies in that environment you're now working in.
And when an attack happens at a school, Kennedy says it can have lasting impacts, and an SRO's role can take on one of a school counselor.
I thought that we as SROs would be spending our day the next day trying to make sure the building is physically secure or making sure there was no retaliation. But we wound up being needed more often than not in the area where all the counseling services were being provided.
Tuesday's incident in Oshkosh and Monday's in Waukesha have prompted area schools like the Unified School District of De Pere to reach out to families and offer support and remind people everyone has a role to play in school safety.
The lesson from Waukesha is that students see and hear a lot of things that are of concern, and the quicker that they report it, the more safe that our students and staff in our schools will be.
The National Association of School Resource Officers is on track to train 10,000 SROs by the end of this year. Bill?
Katie, thank you. Several area school districts are reaching out to parents and guardians after today's Oshkosh shooting, emphasizing how important it is maintaining a safe learning environment is for their students, as well as how important it is to report suspicious behavior. The Green Bay Area Public School District released a letter saying in part, quoting, "Now, because student and staff safety is our highest priority, we take every threat seriously. We also encourage you to speak with your children about the serious nature of making threats, whether verbally, written, or on social media," end quote. Howard Suamico School District released a letter saying in part, quoting, "Now, safety and security are not the lone responsibility of an individual, a facility, the district, or the police department. Safety is everyone's responsibility. We all play a vital role in staying vigilant, staying aware, and reporting any suspicious behavior," end quote.
Local lawmakers and Governor Tony Evers are also responding to today's shooting. The governor writes in part, quote, "The last 2 days tells us that we can't keep pretending that this only happens in other communities or in other states. It's happening here too. We can't just accept that violence in our schools is a foregone conclusion, and we have to get to work to do everything we can to keep our kids and our communities safe," end quote. And U.S. Senator Ron Johnson released a statement saying, quote, "We should all be thankful, however, that larger tragedies may have well been averted due to training and the swift and courageous action of students, teachers, school administrators, and armed school resource officers," end quote. As we have done so all day, Action 2 News will continue to alert you on any new developments in this investigation. New information will be posted on WBAY.com, our First Alert app, our social media pages, and of course, presented here on air.
We're learning new information in yesterday's Waukesha South High School shooting. As we first told you yesterday, police say a school resource officer responded to a student with a handgun yesterday morning. The officer confronted the 17-year-old, and more officers and deputies arrived on scene. Despite orders, the boy would not remove his hands from his pocket. Police say that's when he took his gun and pointed it at officers, and an officer shot him. Life-saving measures were performed, and he is in stable condition and is expected to survive. New today, officers say the student's gun was a pellet gun, and according to a newly released picture and series of pictures, he had a second pellet gun in his backpack. Police say he faces multiple felony charges once he's released from the hospital.
After both of these Wisconsin school incidents so close together, parents and students are telling us they're angry that this happened here and they're afraid for their safety. Some parents commenting they want to homeschool their kids. Well, child therapist and author Rebecca Hubbard says those are normal reactions, but she says letting fear take over is dangerous.
Because fear in that way grows exponentially, and it will take over your life in a matter of days. Keep your life the same. Don't homeschool your kids because it's just going to make them more afraid.
Hubbard says you should let fear motivate you to do something different to protect today's children.
So I want to get you right into your day tomorrow with First Alert Pinpoint Predictor, 7 a.m. Throughout this sequence of images, watch up over here. You'll see a few passing snow showers or flurries, mainly north. Otherwise, the rest of us will be dry. A mix of sun and clouds, probably not as much sun as today. Daytime high temperatures above the freezing mark, low to mid 30s there. I think the big thing you'll notice about tomorrow, a little bit of a biting wind out of the west-northwest, averaging around 15 miles per hour. Gusts at time to 20 or 25 miles per hour. So plan for wind chills in the morning, mostly in the teens, and then throughout the remainder of the day, it'll feel mostly like 20s. Then tomorrow night, gradually, the clouds move in and they really thicken on up. And that takes us into Thursday because as we start the day already, here's 7 a.m., a little bit of snow, mostly north, and it stays mostly north. Here's the noon hour, and you see a little bit of snow still continuing there. In fact, even for the afternoon drive in the far north, there might be a few spotty snow showers.
How you doing, everybody? The Packers are in the driver's seat in the NFC North, and they will be favored in at least 3 of their final 4 games, and that starts Sunday with 3-9 Washington coming to Lambeau Field. Now, rookie head coach Matt LaFleur kept his team focused last week, not allowing a hangover from the San Fran beatdown to turn into an upset loss on the road against the then 2-9 Giants.
The bottom line is with this league, I don't care who you're playing. You better show up each and every week and give your best. Otherwise, you could be playing a 2-win team and get embarrassed. So that's the mindset that we have. I think you always have to have a standard, and the standard stays the same no matter who you're playing. Again, it's our job, if there are some tough matchups, to try to game plan around those and make sure that we're putting our guys in a position to go out there and have success.
High school hoops, good FVA matchup on the girls' side. 4-0 Appleton East visiting 3-1 Hortonville. The first rankings of the season out tonight. East 5th in Division I, Hortonville 4th in Division II. And Polar Bear junior Macy McGlone, the Milwaukee recruit, goes in tough for the layup, makes it 19-10. Hortonville trailing early in this one. Appleton East responds senior Sophia Verkalen does it all herself. Patriots keeping a little distance there. 9-point advantage. Hortonville senior Morgan Drahim with the steal, and she's coming back the other way. Polar Bears trying to fight their way back. East had the lead at the half, but what a big second half for Hortonville as they come back to win it 64-45. Now on the boys' side tonight, a battle in Appleton as 1-0 Xavier visits 1-0 FVL. Fox is trying to close the gap. It's Riley Ninman tossing in a long ball. Senior Spencer Jens converted that assist there. FVL down 44-30, but rain in triples tonight. Luke Mavrich with the 3, 49-38 the score. Xavier heads to half with the lead. John Bunks gets the layup. They're up 54-41, and into the second half, the Hawks, that high-powered offense gets cooking. Ray Zuliger with the triple, and 63-51 at that point, and the Hawks win it tonight, 93-72.
Almost hit a hundo there.
Which is not unusual for them.
Exactly. They like a run. Thanks, Chris.
2019 will go down as the lowest gone deer harvest in 39 years. The statewide harvest of 160,000 deer down 25% from last year after holding the earliest possible gun season in 2018. This year was the latest possible season opener and more removed from the rut when deer are more active. The DNR wildlife biologists say when this has occurred in the past, there were similar declines in year-to-year registration totals.
I think we always enter the season optimistically, knowing that, yeah, there's often a dip when we have this calendar shift, but we hope that it's not going to be as significant this year. It was, and then some.
The DNR also says the weather played a factor. Record rainfall this year prevented many farmers from harvesting their corn before the season. The DNR also states the lower kill this year is part of a long-term trend toward more deer being taken outside of the 9-day gun season.